Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Anne and today I'm giving you my February wrap-up. I think this will be quite a short wrap-up because I mostly did rereading in February. Back in December or even November I decided that February would be dedicated to rereading some old favorites, and then I really got the urge to reread the Lunar Chronicles, so that's basically all I've been reading in February. Also, I just haven't really been reading that much in February. I have been playing The Sims a lot. It was what I felt the urge to do for most of the month, so that's just what I gave into and what I did. So I ended up reading 4 books, 2 of which are part of the Lunar Chronicles. One is a very short poetry collection and one is a biography that I read most of in January already. So let's just get into them. The first 2 books I read in February were Cinder and Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. These are the first 2 books in the Lunar Chronicles and I'm currently still reading Cress. It is the 27th of February as I'm filming this, but I still have that much to go, so there is no way I will be finishing this before the end of the month. So I will be continuing that one in March, alongside the books I'm planning to read for the Magical Readathon. The TBR video for that one has gone up already, so I'll leave a link to that up above and down below. I gave both of these 5 stars. I love the Lunar Chronicles. It's been a long time since I read them, although I read Cinder for my MA dissertation as well, because I wrote my master's dissertation on YA retellings of the Cinderella fairy tale and how feminist they are. And Cinder was one of the 3 books I talked about in my dissertation, so I remembered this one quite well just because I completely took it apart for the dissertation, so that sticks in your head. And also I read this one most recently, so it was fun to reread this. It was nostalgic, there was a lot of recognition, there was anticipation for what I knew was going to happen. And then Scarlet I remembered quite a bit of as well. Not as much as the first book, obviously, because it's been much longer since I read it, but there was the anticipation and nostalgia definitely as well. Also, this is a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, which is one of my favorite fairy tales, so that was a lot of fun as well. Scarlet is also one of my favorite characters from the entire series, and I think I gave this one 4 stars when I first read it, but I ended up giving it 5 stars now. I think just because I love this series so much and because of all the nostalgia. I also just think these books are written very, very well. I was kind of scared before I started rereading that it would be a bit of a disappointment, that they wouldn't be as good as I remembered, but these are just great books. They are written very well, they are structured very well, the plot twists are great. It's amazing. For those of you who don't know what this series is about, let me just explain it to you quickly, because I've been rambling on about this without telling you what this is about. This is a series of 4 books and they are all YA science fiction retellings of fairy tales. So the first one is Cinderella, the second one is Little Red Riding Hood, the third one is Rapunzel, and the fourth one is, what's her name? Snow White. And it is one ongoing story. So in the first one we meet Cinder, who is the main character throughout the series, but in the second one we meet Scarlet and Cinder's story continues, but Scarlet's story runs alongside that and all the storylines meet up at a certain point as well. It's all one big story. And it is magnificently structured and done, I think. And it tells the story of a world far into the future. There have been several more world wars, which unfortunately right now doesn't seem to be so far in the future. But the story starts in Asia, in New Beijing, which is where Cinder lives. This is a world with a lot of new technology. It's very futuristic in that sense. The world is divided into bigger countries. There is the Commonwealth, the Eastern Commonwealth it's called, which is a lot of the countries in Asia. There is Europe, there's the American Republic. So there are still things that are very recognizable from our world, but it's definitely changed a lot as well, which is a fun combination. A big part of the second book takes place in Paris, which is a lot of fun as well. And in this world, cyborgs exist. I almost forgot about that. Cinder, our main character, is a cyborg. She is discriminated against a lot because people feel like cyborgs aren't really real people, and she lives with her evil stepmother and her 2 stepsisters. Her stepmother wants her to work for her to earn her money. Yeah, that's basically where the Cinderella fairy tale comes in as well. Cinder is a mechanic. That's what she does to earn money, and then one day At the start of the book, the son of the emperor comes to her booth at the market and asks her to fix his android. And this has to be done a bit stealthily, but it's very clear that it's very important. And this kind of sets off the story. We also learn that in this world there is a disease called letumosis, which is referred to as the plague. People get it, they don't get better. It is a very serious disease. And they're all working very hard to find an antidote to this. And then there is also the relationship with another planet, the planet of Luna, which is the moon. People have settled there, and there is a lot of antipathy between the Earth and the moon. And that's also a big part of this story. There's a lot more to it, but let's just leave it at that. I'm very excited to be rereading this, but I'm not really used to reading all of the books of a series, one straight after another. So I've noticed that at the start of Cress, my interest started to dip a little bit, but now the storyline has gotten very exciting again in Cress, so I really want to keep reading. And I think I'll be reading Cress and Winter one after another as well, but alongside the other books I want to read, just because I really want to read newer books again as well. Then the third book I finished in February was one of the books that is on my list of 10 books I have to read in 2022, and it's Anna by Anniette van der Zijl. This is the biography of Annie M.G. Schmid, who is the Netherlands' most famous children's book writer ever. She passed away in 1995, and this tells her life story, and I gave it 5 stars. It was absolutely magnificent. It was really touching, it was really human, because Annie M.G. Schmid was not an easy person. She wrote amazing things for children, but also for adults. She was an absolute phenomenon. She's a really important person in the history of Dutch books, of Dutch literature, and just media in general, because she also wrote plays, musicals, she wrote for TV, and it was nice to get to know her better within this book. I don't really know what else to say about it, because this won't be interesting to international readers at all, but I was very touched by this book. It made me feel sad, it made me feel happy by the end, when obviously she dies. I was really sad for a little while, even though I knew it was coming, because I know she isn't alive anymore. But it was just really special to read about this special person, to read about the human behind the persona of Annie M.G. Schmid, behind all of the books, all of the amazing books she's written. I'm really excited that I've now finished this, also because it's been a big book that's been on my TBR for 4 years. I was always intimidated by this, so I'm glad that I put it on my list of 10 books, and I'm also glad that I finished it this early in the year. I really wasn't expecting that, but yay for me. And then the last book I finished was a small poetry collection. It is My Life Had Stood a Loaded Gun by Emily Dickinson. It's one of those small black penguin classics. I read this for the Buzzword Reading Challenge for February, because the prompt for February was to read a book with pronouns or possessives in it, and this has my in it, which is a possessive. And there were a lot of other books to choose from for this prompt, but because I wanted to focus on rereading, I decided to go for this short poetry collection. This has been on my TBR for a long time as well, because I've got a couple of these little books, and I always think that I'll read them quickly, because they're so short and they're easy to read in between other things, but then I just end up forgetting about them and not reading them at all. So I'm actually excited that I've now finally actually read this. I read a couple of poems by Emily Dickinson when I was in university, I think. I recognized a few of them in here as well, but this is the first collection I read by her. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. There were quite a few poems that I didn't fully understand or fully grasp, but then there were also a lot of poems that were really beautiful to me. I don't really have that much else to say about it, because I never really know what I should say or have to say about poetry. It's more of a gut feeling thing. Either I like it or I don't. I'm glad I don't have to analyze it anymore. That was of course something I had to do in university when I studied English literature. There was a lot of poetry, and I always struggled with that a little bit. So I'm glad I don't have to do it anymore, and I won't do it now. I enjoyed this, it was great. I might want to read more by Emily Dickinson in the future. I think she's an interesting person in history as well, but like I said, I'm not a big poetry reader, so we'll see how that goes. So like I said, that was quite a short wrap up. Those were all the books I finished in February. I am still listening to Wuthering Heights on audio. Wuthering Heights is one of my all-time favorite books, and I decided for my month of rereading to listen to it on audio, but I didn't get very far. I often listen to audiobooks when I'm on the bus to work or when I go home from work on the bus, but this month I've been feeling like listening to music a lot. I've listened to a few podcasts, so I didn't get a lot of listening to Wuthering Heights done, but it has been a lot of fun to reread it because, like I said, it's one of my favorite books, but it's been a couple of years since I read it, and it's just all the nostalgia and all the recognition, and it's just a great book. Anyway, I'll stop rambling about that now. In a comment down below, please let me know, what did you read in February? What was your favorite book you read in February? Have you read any of the books I mentioned in this video? So basically, have you read the Lunar Chronicles? And please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of me in the future. And have a wonderful day. Bye!